some interesting lighting. Okay, next sun sign compatibility. Gemini and Leo. Oh, Gemini and Leo. I'm a Gemini, my sister is Leo, and God, we've definitely embodied the good and the challenging aspects of this relationship, and also one of my very dear friends who I've been all over the world with is Leo too, and I would say that we also have embodied, well, she and me we've been a lot more of the positive aspects than the negative, but I guess that's any relationship, is there's the positive and there's the negative, and you just strive to make it work as much as possible, make it healthy as much as possible. So anyways, generalizations aside, back to this relationship. Oh man, where to begin? I think a great place to begin is just recognizing the natural affinity between these two signs. You have Leo, fixed fire, and Gemini, mutable air. And air and fire naturally go together, just like earth and water. And what this means is basically fire signs are very playful, very, just like I said in the video yesterday, very childlike, very enthusiastic, childlike in a beautiful way. Again, there's a beautiful innocence and enthusiasm for life that fire signs have. And Leo being fixed fire, perhaps even, well, I don't want to say they have more than other fire signs, but they have the power of the sun, you know, they shine naturally, and that warmth and just goodwill and beauty radiates from them. And so you have this sign, Leo, and then you have Gemini, air sign. Air in general is very intellectual, it's very excitable. Both air and fire are extroverted and very much independent people, very much into going on adventures together, especially, and just exploring the world. You know, there's a natural excitement when an air and a fire sign comes together, because they can accomplish so much together. It's really beautiful to see an air and fire relationship, and especially with Leo and Gemini, because you have Leo, literally the most, oh man, it's so much power that a Leo has. And whether they're channeling it through, you know, being a leader, or channeling it through their amazing creativity and art, or channeling it through whatever, the Leo brings just this larger-than-life exuberance to the relationship. Hell, to their life in general, but specifically to this relationship. And they just have this flair for the dramatic, and it's just a lot of fun. And there's some challenges there too, we'll get there. And the Gemini adds to that by adding wittiness, flexibility, adaptability, which is so good because, oh, I just realized one of my uncles is a Gemini and my aunt is Leo. Hello. This relationship is all over my life. How funny. Yeah, and you know, they embody that too. There's just a natural fun with them, a natural playfulness. I love visiting them. These two signs coming together is such an incredible melange of compliments, you know. So again, like I was saying, the Gemini adds a little bit of adaptability, flexibility, which is really good, because Leo being fixed fire, any of the fixed signs can be very stubborn, very set in their ways, and having a mutable influence, and especially an air mutable influence or fixed fire, really helps just add flexibility to the Leo's life, when that is so much more important than I wish I could show you. I guess I'll just have to tell you. It helps the Leo sort through things. Air, the beautiful thing that air offers to an air-fire relationship is perspective, is the ability to reason and logic and not be subjectively, you know, biased like fire signs are. Again, wonderfully childlike, enthusiastic, and, you know, playful, and yeah. But fire signs can be very much, fire is the ego principle, you know. It's that energy within us that sets us apart from others, and it's a beautiful thing. I've, just like I said in the Aries Leo video yesterday, ego gets a very bad rap, but it's an incredibly powerful tool, and it's a beautiful tool. It's what differentiates us from other people. And, of course, we're all still human beings, we're all still on the same planet, we're all still in the same family. But, hell, I mean, the family of life, you know, it's not even just about this planet, just the family of life in the universe. But, Damn it, Mercury retrograde. I keep getting sidetracked in these recent videos. Okay. Yeah, alright, I'm just gonna let it go. It'll come back if it needs to be. No, it was important. Damn it. Hold on. Nah. Anyway, so the Gemini adds that flexibility to the Leo, and Leos can be so stubborn, so right, the perspective. That's what it was. Air sign perspective. It helps. Kind of the way I see fire people and fire energy is it needs to always be burning. You know, always needs to be crackling and expressing itself, and air signs come in with a nice breeze so the fire doesn't get choked up, you know, so smoke and whatnot. Even fire signs, they can only have so much of themselves. The ego principle, that's what I was talking about. Alright, retrograde, I'm working with you, it's starting to work. You know, the ego principle is, unfortunately, ego can get very overpowering sometimes, and it can be very difficult to go through daily life when you're choked up fire-wise, you know, if you're not expressing yourself, if you're not getting all of that creative energy out there. And air really helps in showing ways, showing where to burn, how much, how little. And I think that's a great gift for this relationship, is Gemini is so deft and able to see the pattern, see where, you know, one should go, why one should go, how one should go. And that helps so much with Leo, who's so centered in their own presence, centered in their own power, and could really use a little bit of guidance, you know, as per, okay, well, you're fantastic, or not even so much guidance, because, you know, Leo guides himself so well, but a little bit of advice, you know, a little bit of help just understanding, okay, so where should I go? What should I do? What are my options? You know, Gemini is really great at seeing what's the potential. And, you know, usually when a Gemini and a Leo come together, that potential is going to be fascinating and adventuresome and exploring. And that's why it interests the Gemini, because the Leo naturally appreciates, you know, again, if both people are in their presence and it's a healthy relationship, the Leo naturally appreciates what Gemini has to offer, that perspective, that it's been really beautiful in my life to, I count myself very lucky that, you know, I have several Leo friends that come to me for advice. And I'm very happy to offer that because, one, I get energized by the encounter, is Leos are infectious in their energies. They're a lot of fun. You know, maybe not for every sign, say like a sun sign Capricorn or whatever, but for a Gemini sun sign, that funness is just amplified, and we add to it, and then they add to it, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and there's a camaraderie there. And, you know, very often when the Gemini offers advice, they also see another spot where they could play a role, you know? They see how they could help the Leo in even more ways. And it's a very beautiful relationship. Another pair that comes to mind is Robert Plant, and Jimmy Page is a Capricorn. Ironic for what I was just saying, but his Sun and Mercury are tightly conjunct, and they're right off the cusp of Gemini. And I think if you listen to their music, you hear the, let alone he has Mars and Gemini. But there's, speaking from a Gemini with Mercury and Gemini, those energies are there. But you know, that beautiful, beautiful man and musician, and you know, it shows in their music too. That kind of camaraderie of you know, Robert Plant's Leo Whale, especially in the first album, of the back and forth, you know, the Gemini guitar answering to the Leo whale and pushing it further and pushing it on and more. And of course you hear it in the later albums in all sorts of different variations. There's that beautiful camaraderie between these two signs, because ultimately they're interested in the same thing. They're interested in having fun. They're interested in interesting things, you know, things that interest them, of course. And for these two signs, that is such a rich palette of things. Gemini is fascinated by everything under the sun, and Leo is interested in so much that Gemini is interested in, as per, you know, art and creativity and expression and communication, and influencing people, really influencing people and creating something worthwhile. And whether that's creating art together or being business partners or lovers or friends or whatever, there's a beautiful, again, there's a very nice camaraderie between these two signs. So one of the challenges, we got a mutable sign, and what when we have Gemini, it's a mutable air, and we have fixed fire, it can get kind of frustrating for the Leo when the Gemini is there, doing their thing, contributing to the friendship, and then the Gemini just disappears. That happens very often with the Leos in my life, where I'm there, I'm 100% invested into that friendship, and I still am even when I'm away, but I have other things to do. I'm Gemini, I gotta go over here, and then there, and then there, and there, and that's very frustrating for the Leos. They take it personally, and that's a bummer, because obviously it's not personal in the slightest. I love my Leo friends, even if I don't see them for, months or even years. And I think that's very important for the Leo to grow past, to find their own presence, to not take it personally if somebody's around or not around, and to not judge themselves and think, oh, I'm not being as brilliant as I can be, I'm not shining as brilliantly as I can be because, my Gemini friend isn't here. That's not going to help anything, because it's not accurate, honestly. Gemini is just naturally here and there. We know everyone. It's crazy. I go downtown and I swear I see more people that I didn't plan on seeing than I planned on seeing. That's just how Gemini's lives work. We naturally, we flutter here, we flit there, and we get to know people along the way. And it seems very superficial, and honestly, that is the challenge for Gemini in this relationship and all relationships, is to make sure we're not being superficial. There sometimes is very much a great reason for the Leo to be like, what the hell, man? When the Gemini is just, not being communicative or not being effusive with other people in positive ways. Basically the Gemini is just being very much the lower order of Hermes, the mercurial archetype, the mercurial energy, mercurial god of being the trickster, or being self-serving and kind of the con man and stuff. Now, it's not in the nature of either Gemini or Virgo, but especially Gemini, because we have the reputation for that. It's not it's not in our character to be malicious or cruel or anything. In fact, we have a very strong notion of truth, and that's an air principle thing. And so we just like chaos and mischief, really. We're not selfish or anything, and even though it can certainly seem that way sometimes. So, yeah, that's just a little bit of advice for that element, because I find that's a really big trait of this relationship, is the Leo doesn't quite understand. They need somebody more solid, they need a fixed energy to match their fixed energy, and, the Gemini needs to get around. That's the mutable part of us. So it's very important for the Leo to not try and control that. Not only not take it personally, but not try and control the Gemini and say, no, you will be here now. That's when the despotic king or queen of Leo comes out, and that's no fun. That's, again, both people in any relationship needs to be in their presence for it to be a healthy relationship. It doesn't matter what the energies are. If either one of those people are not honoring themselves, loving themselves, fulfilling themselves, doing what they really feel they need to do, if they're worried about shelter, food, if they're plagued by fear or pain or whatever. These are all things that we all need to get past to find the highest order of our energies, which is really just love. That's what it all comes down to, is being able to give and receive love in a very healthy way. So for these two individuals, the Gemini has got to be completely straightforward. They have to know themselves and know what their purpose is, not to just be just to be fluttering around without any kind of purpose and just seeing what kind of stuff is there. Gemini at its best, I've found in my life, is to have a purpose, to have your mind be always working towards something or be thinking about something, and to have it be something worth your while, not very lower order Gemini, like how to con people or how to whatever, something that doesn't help people and help society, but something that is very fulfilling of both your mind and also aiding other people or talking, communicating, being a link, whatever. You know, Gemini plays so many different roles. And again, for the Leo to be very rooted and have a very healthy ego. A healthy ego is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And in fact, it's not the ego that's going, haha, I have conquered the world, I am so brilliant, and everyone else sucks, and this and that. No, that's not a healthy ego at all. That's, in fact, one of the most unhealthy egos, you know? An unhealthy ego, in my experience, in my perspective, is both the braggadocio, the overly, you know, oh, I am awesome, the world revolves around me, the entire universe. No, that's unhealthy. And also the unhealthy of, I suck. You know, nothing I do is ever good. Not, you know, this very negative self-talk and whatnot. And it's interesting because, you know, fire signs, they're known for being the ego-oriented people. And again, which is not a bad thing. Ego accomplishes art. It makes things happen. It leads people. It's a beautiful thing. It shines individuality, you know, and originality. But when it's ironic, because fire signs, I find, you know, of course the negative self-talk is very much a water and earth sign thing. But I find that fire signs go through these phases where they absolutely, and for me, my fire energies, they doubt themselves and they become very, so grumpy and so, like, just... Seeing a Leo mope is just about the most miserable thing that you can be around, honestly, because they mope, but they don't mope in their own world like a water or earth sign would, because they want the attention, they need the attention. It's in fact that lack of attention, that lack of self-respect and love, that they then, because being their fire and being extroverted, they then turn out on the entire world. It is very, very infinitely frustrating to have that kind of wildfire going on, you know, that unhealthy fire of give me attention even though I feel I don't deserve it. So that's a really big challenge for Leo to get past too, is to honor their ego, to love their ego, and yet not be obsessed by it, you know. And again, a healthy ego doesn't feel the need to constantly be showing like, oh, how awesome I am and this and that. A healthy ego doesn't need that, you know. If anything, ironically, a healthy ego is completely contained in itself and happy, and usually other people come to it instead of it going to other people. Now it could, you know, reach out a hand and go to other people. There's so many beautiful, beautiful moments in my life where Sages or Leos or Aries have extended the hand and been, you know, very much in their presence, and it's been a complete stranger and it's worked out lovely. But again, it's very important to find that inner place of peace and inner place of fulfillment of all your fiery passion and all of your creative ardor in life. Because everything else works out, you know, let alone this relationship, Gemini, Leo, but all relationships. So we've talked about the challenges greatly in depth. Traveling is a wonderful, wonderful exercise, I guess you could say. Adventure, that's better, for a Gemini and a Leo. Because they're just so... just good things happen. You know, the Gemini knows how to get around, even if they know just a couple of words in the language, and it's a Gemini, so they'll probably know the language, if not 2 or 3. You know, the Leo also brings that nice fire that communicates past all language barriers. I used to love being around my Leo friend over in France, and, you know, I would just sit and let her, you know, run the show, you know, have the stage and whatever. I remember we had a party, actually a couple parties, in her place, and we had all these different people combined. It was really great. It's really fun. And ironically, that's another thing about this relationship, is the Gemini meets so many interesting people through the Leo. Because if the Leo likes somebody, the Gemini is going to like somebody. You know, assuming the Gemini and Leo are friends, of course. And it's just fun, you know. There's all these, there's a hidden world between a Leo and a Gemini, and I find a lot of truth in the composite sun sign of Cancer. You know, when a Gemini and Leo get together, when any 2 people get together, the midpoint is that is what the relationship is. The energy of the relationship itself has a life of its own, and you know, with every Leo I meet, I feel like an urge to take care of them. And let alone my moon sign Cancer and rising right on the cusp of Cancer and all that. But there really is a natural draw that I find with Leos I don't find with anyone else. And I really do. That sun sign Cancer epitomizes it so well. And I have to say, it goes back and forth too. My sister, we've taken care of each other, even though we fought, as all kids do, when we were younger. Now, especially that we're older, we get along beautifully, and we take care of each other. And even though we don't see or talk to each other too much, we check in and make sure that we're good. And my friend over in France too. There's just a natural, we would cook together. We would get together all the time and just hang out and chat. That's another beautiful thing about this relationship, is let alone that natural nurturing that goes back and forth, is there's this, with time, because of this natural affinity, comes all of these private jokes that only those two get, and they'll just look at each other and they'll know, because they both are so expressive, In fact, out of all the signs, they might be the two most expressive in different ways. Leo through its fiery, dramatic ardor, right? And Gemini through its communicative faculties. And so this relationship just gets richer with time, truly. I mean, all relationships do, as long as both people are in their presence and it's working. They're both working as individuals, very healthy. But, this relationship just naturally gets really great with time. And, it's so unpredictable in a beautiful way, and that's so necessary for these two signs that need adventure and need excitement and fulfillment of all that just curiosity about the world, about themselves, about everything and everyone. It's a fantastic combination. So my last little bit of advice, I said in the video yesterday, I'll constantly be adding to all my videos as life goes on and as new perspectives come up, and if things feel like I should share them. But the last thing for today, for this video, is Leo, don't rely on your pride so much. Listen to the Gemini, even though the Gemini can be a little bit critical sometimes and overly critical, and just let those times go. They always mean well. Gemini sometimes think so much and talk so much they don't realize, people's feelings. Well, at least when they're saying it, they'll realize it from the reaction, certainly. But don't take everything that Gemini says personally, and don't take it so seriously either, because Geminis we talk a lot, and albeit a Gemini who's in their presence is only going to talk if they have something to say, something really meaningful. At the same time, we're Geminis. Our mouths are just and don't take it so seriously, because Geminis are very changeable people. We're constantly going through changes, and especially if it's, say, Mercury in retrograde like it is now. It's good. The video's been smooth since those little from before. Even if it's just don't take it personally. And Geminis, be cognizant that Leo is different from you in that they do have that powerful ego, which is a beautiful thing and what endears us to them. But it is good to be considerate of that and to know when to talk and when not to talk. And also just to be cognizant of actually pretty much what I said before, just being cognizant of making sure that you're in your presence as well, and making sure that you're contributing good things to the relationship and that you really care about the relationship, which you naturally probably will as long as you're in your presence. Leos naturally draw Geminis. This is fun. Hell, look at the planets involved, or rather the star and the planet involved. You have the Sun and Mercury. Mercury is tightly around Leo. That's a beautiful, I've always loved that metaphor for Gemini and Leo together, because they complement each other so well. And yet, of course, they are two different beings. Yeah. Okay. Namaste.